Hello and welcome back to London Cycle Routes. Today I'll be showing you how to cycle from Peckham in South London to Waterloo Station. This ride takes about 25 minutes and you can do the whole thing on quiet streets and protected cycle lanes. By public transport the same journey takes over half an hour, so you can certainly save time by cycling it. If you find this video useful or you just enjoy watching it, then please don't forget to hit the bell icon and subscribe to the channel on YouTube. A few people have also asked for more ways to support the channel, so I've set up a Patreon page. If you're feeling generous, there's a link in the description of the video, but it is of course completely optional. Alright, let's get going. So we're starting at the north end of Peckham Rye, and the first thing we do is we use this joint cycle and pedestrian crossing to cross the road. And we're heading towards Peckham Library here, that's the L-shaped building on our right, and we're going to take the path just between the trees to the left of the library. Usually when I do videos from Peckham, I continue down the Surrey Canal walk path, but we're going to do something a bit different today. Instead of taking that path on our right there, we've headed straight down here, down Jocelyn Street, and we're taking a signposted route called Cycleway 35. This is one of Transport for London's routes, and it mostly runs on back streets, although there are some short sections on busier roads which have protected cycle lanes. Now, whether you take C35 or the Surrey Canal Walk is really just a matter of personal preference. They both run parallel to each other. The Canal Walk is completely traffic free, but it's also shared with pedestrians, and some people don't like that. On this, you're on the main carriageway of a road, but it's pretty quiet. There are some nice touches, like this cycle zebra crossing coming up here. We technically have priority over any cars as we cross Commercial Way, although in practice you should be careful on that crossing because not everyone's going to stop for you. The biggest downside of taking this route instead of the Canal Walk is probably that this part of Sumner Road is not actually filtered, it's a through route for cars. So while traffic levels are reasonably low, they're not dead low, it's not like you're in a low traffic neighbourhood. What's strange is that the streets next to C35 don't have through traffic, so the cycleway has been put on the only street with through traffic in the area. But that could be easily fixed by putting a filter on Sumner Street, which I think would be a great idea. Here it turns into a protected cycle lane, although it doesn't have priority over that side road, which is a strange way of doing it. And by the way, if you'd taken Surrey Canal Walk, you'd be coming out around where this pedestrian crossing just up ahead is, and you would use that pedestrian crossing and you would join the route here. If you want to see what Surrey Canal Walk looks like, then watch my earlier video from a couple of months ago from Peckham to Kensington, and you'll see that it's basically a traffic-free path much like this, but with a few twists and turns. I think on balance I prefer the Surrey Canal Walk, but I thought it would be nice to get C35 on video. We've now turned into Burgess Park. It's looking a lot less green than usual. That's because this video was filmed during the July 2022 heatwave. If you're wondering why there are people standing around in fluorescent jackets and running all in the same direction, it's because I have happened upon a community fun run. I looked it up. And that's the bridge over us. As I mentioned a few times on this channel before, Burgess Park actually used to be a canal until it was drained, and that is the remnants of an old iron canal bridge running over it, which I think is pretty fun. And we're just leaving the fun run area now, so yeah, I don't think I was doing anything wrong by cycling there. It was a pretty informal event, a 5k run to raise awareness for health and well-being in the community. That sounds very positive. Now, just a quick note coming up here, we go through this underpass under Wells Way, and it's pretty narrow. And remember, you're sharing this path with pedestrians, so make sure you are courteous and wait your turn. At this point, the woman cycling next to me started chatting away, and I thought it was really nice. It's always nice to chat to people when you are cycling. Those chance interactions, I think, are one of the nicest things about riding a bike. On the right, by the way, that's a lime kiln, that brick structure, and as well as being a relic of the area's history, it's also your cue to turn right. So if you see the lime kiln, turn right down the path, that's how you remember which one it is, and it will put you out onto Albany Road, which has a nice two-way protected cycle track on it for a very short distance before we use these traffic lights. You've got cycle level signals there, and you'll go straight down, and now we're joining Cycleway 17 down Portland Street. Cycleway 17 is actually very similar to Cycleway 35 in some respects. In the opposite direction there, just coming up to the lights, you get a protected cycle lane as you join the junction. but you're mostly on the main road here. It's very direct. This street actually does have through traffic on it. It's very quiet. It's particularly quiet at this time of day. This was shot on a Sunday, but it can get a little bit busier, but it's always been about this busy, I'd say, whenever I've been here. The main similarity to Cycleway 35 is that despite the street not being filtered, it runs next to streets that are filtered, that don't have any through traffic on them. So the only street in the area that isn't filtered is the Cycleway, which seems like an odd choice. I reckon Southwark Council should extend the Walworth low traffic neighbourhood to cover Portland Street and Brandon Street, because it's a major cycleway, and that would make it a really pleasant place to cycle. Currently it's a boundary road. It's not too bad, but when there's the market on, you do get quite a few people driving. You can see there are a couple of cars there. This route, Peckham to Waterloo, was one that a few people requested. You can actually do it a few different ways, I worked out. So one way that I nearly took was to go left down Browning Street around here, cut through an estate, Cycleway 7, and then take sort of Brook Drive and Kennington Road up to Waterloo. We're not going to do that. We're going to keep following Cycleway 17 this way, and then we'll join Cycleway 10 through the back streets, which will take us right to Waterloo. I think it's a better way, as there's slightly less messing around, but they're both pretty direct and both pretty good. Unfortunately, the cycleway lane was closed here when I approached it, but it was no problem. It was only a brief section that was closed. Now, as you approach this junction here, you want to go onto a cycle track that's on the pavement, but as you turn onto it, make sure you're very careful that there's no cars coming across that junction, and equally also make sure you watch out for pedestrians trying to reach the bus stop. We're going to be crossing the road ourselves here using this toucan crossing. You can see that the lights have got both a bike and a person on it, and this section here is shared pavement. You can see the little blue sign that indicates that you're allowed to cycle on the pavement, and it's great to see a family making good use of it as well. Notice that they had to get out of the way for the car there. This street is actually pretty wide. It's just that the double parked cars in that section made it feel really, really narrow, to an extent that a small van couldn't go down the road at the same time as somebody cycling, which is both not great and also something that you see all over London, unfortunately. As you cross Harper Road here, make sure you look both ways. Fortunately, it's quite an open junction. You can see it as you are approaching it, but people do tend to go down that road quite fast. You can see that Falmouth Road that we're on is actually pretty quiet, and it's really quite a nice cycle. And it leads up to this this lovely pub here, which has a really, really nice looking sort of patio thing going on with some lovely tables outside. I've never been, but I plan on visiting. We are leaving Cycleway 17 here, and we're joining Cycleway 10. And unfortunately, there's a slightly annoying bit here. There's a chicane as you come onto Trinity Church Square. This is difficult to cycle through, and when it's busy it can cause real problems and blockages, but unfortunately it's there. If you've not been to Trinity Church Square before, do yourself a favour and get yourself down there and have a look around. It's really pretty. Really nice Georgian square, and it has a statue of King Alfred in the middle of it that is partly built from repurposed Roman stone, which I think is really interesting. There was a recent archaeological discovery that discovered that was the case. You've got your own sort of cycle head start there. We had our own little green light, and we are now heading down Cycleway 10 down Great Suffolk Street. These streets are usually pretty quiet no matter what time of day it is. I've never had any problems on here, and I'll just take the time to mention that if you're enjoying the channel, please don't forget to hit subscribe and you'll be alerted for new videos. Hit the bell icon. We just crossed Cycleway 7 there, by the way. That's those blue lines, and that runs up Southwark Bridge Road. That connects Elephant and Castle to Southwark Bridge and goes into the city, and it also goes further down to Clapham through Balham and Tooting. Some bits are really good, really quite good. They've been upgraded with protected lanes. Some bits less so good. I intend to do a video just reviewing the whole thing because it's really quite a mixed bag, and I don't really tend to use it too much in videos because the good bits aren't contiguous with each other. There are some good bits and then some bad bits, so I think it would be interesting to look at which bits of Cycle Superhighway 7 are better than others, which bits are worse, and sort of talk through that in a sort of a review style. If you find that interesting, let me know in the comments below, and maybe I'll do one. other housekeeping, you can download the digital map of this route for whatever device or app you like. There's a link in the description, and you can download the GPS GPX file. This end of Weber Street is not always so quiet, and there's also a little surprise coming up. You can see those two cars, just keep an eye on them, and they can't go any further, and that's because outside the Old Vic Theatre there are two flatbed trucks here, presumably taking away a set or something like that. A quick safety note, never ever cycle up the inside of a truck like I just did there at a junction. It's the most dangerous thing you can do. Slightly different when they were obviously stationary and obviously loading, but still that is how most people get killed, so don't do it. We are just about to go under the railway. That's actually the South East Mainline, despite the fact we're near Waterloo. It goes to Waterloo East, Charing Cross and London Bridge. And we turn off left down Alaska Street, and you might recognise that peeking out in front of us, if you can see it through the blinding light, that's Waterloo Station. So we've made it all the way to Waterloo, Peckham to Waterloo, about 25 minutes. If you want a map of the route, you can download it, there's a link in the description. I'll also include a link in the description to the new Patreon that people asked me to set up. Some people have asked how they could contribute to the channel. That's how you can do it. There's absolutely no obligation to sign up to that. That is literally just if you fancy covering my costs or encouraging me to make more videos. Thank you very much, and I'll see you again next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe.